Hi, Dr. Dave Webster. I'm back on my video website here, and this letter is on under the stance of the political parties, and in particular the Conservative Party page. And this is a video directed to Ms. Elizabeth Witmer. Ms. Witmer, many of you may know, was a previous Conservative Minister of Health when that party was in power in the province, and subsequently, through the Conservative Party in opposition, has been their health critic. And I can assure you that Ms. Witmer is well aware of all of the aspects of PET and healthcare in general in this province, and the various ways that the Liberal government has moved in towards treating patients just as red ink. And we have to assume that the Conservatives support this process, since Ms. Witmer is, and the Conservative Party has access to all the information that is on my website, and yet refuse to confront the government with these concerning issues. Therefore, we have to assume that they support it. So a little bit of brief history. I was getting frustrated with the response of both politicians and Ministry of Health people and so on. So I decided I'm going to go, and meet, if I can, Ms. Witmer personally. And I did. I met her in her office in Queen's Park. I think it was actually back in around 2006. The dates are a bit fuzzy. There's so much in my head about this website and various events, but there is information on the website about this. But the bottom line is I went to Ms. Witmer and I showed her, first of all, a very disturbing case of a breast cancer patient in this province. It's the case that is in the right upper corner there, that tragic case of a woman with breast cancer in this province, and it's also on the case scenario page, and so on. And so there were several aspects about this case, and the fact that this woman had to discharge herself from the hospital and go pay for her scan. But in addition, of course, there was the issue that the government was running a blatantly unethical trial on breast cancer patients, one that was deliberately designed to fail. Ms. Witmer was made well aware of this. And in particular, she was also made aware that this very patient I'm referring to here was the very kind of patient that the rest of the world beyond the borders of the Ministry of Health in Toronto understood would have potentially benefited from a PET scan, but these patients were deliberately excluded from the study, all the while we're being told that the PET steering committee was trying to find what the best uses for PET. So I showed her this, and of course she gave me the standard response, "Oh, Dave, this is a terrible situation," and so on. I made her aware of other issues about PET, in general, gave her access to lots of information. Bottom line is, about 3 weeks later, I got a letter back from her, and it was a standard. Well, you can decide for yourself what kind of letter it was, but basically, it was, "Dave, great job. I admire what you're doing. Please keep me informed of whatever you're up to, and if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." Interesting blow-off, eh? I mean, here's the Conservative Minister of Health who has all the in-depth information about all the aspects, the unanswered letters from Al Dreger to Mr. Smideman going against parliamentary procedure and so on, and yet Ms. Witmer is not quite sure what to do here. Now, of course, Ms. Witmer just didn't blow me off. In fact, what Ms. Witmer did was she simply blew off the cancer patients of this province. Now, if you go unanswered and you look at some of her public statements, it sounds like she really supports PET. It's easy to do that when you're in opposition and what you say really doesn't matter. She's actually quoted as saying that this is the gold standard. So she's acknowledging that and encourages the government to move forward with that, but absolutely refuses to use any information that she and the Conservative Party has to actually challenge the government and bring about potential real effective change if they actually were doing their job in opposition. So this video is just really about that. There'll be a letter to Ms. Witmer on my website, whereby I'm going to be again challenging her. And what I really want Ms. Witmer to do, and this is to you, Ms. Witmer, if you're listening, I want you to stand up and defend why you support the scientifically baseless, unethical, even immoral process that the Liberal government has used to block access to patients to PET, and other things as well in healthcare you're aware of, but let's focus on PET for the moment. Why do you support that process? Why have you chosen not to bring up any of the information that you have which could challenge the government on that? But more importantly, what I want you to do is give a message to the breast cancer patients of this province and explain to them why you basically have abandoned them. Because you did see this case. You were well aware of this blatantly unethical trial performed on cancer patients with breast cancer, exposed them to radiation unnecessarily in a trial designed to fail, and excluded the very patients with breast cancer that could have benefited. So you're aware of that. You've chosen not to be public or challenge the ministry about that. So I think this is an election year, and I think you need to stand up and defend your record on this. These vacuous statements, these wonderful mom and apple pie statements about yes, PET's the gold standard, move forward with it, blah blah blah, is utter nonsense, and just politicking with these patients' lives, unless you're willing to stand up and explain why you refuse. Explain to these women why you refuse to use the information you have to stand up on their behalf. Are you prepared to do so, Ms. Witmer? And for those watching the video in particular, if you're in the riding, I believe it's Kitchener-Waterloo where Ms. Witmer is riding, I think you really need to pressure Ms. Witmer to stand up and defend these statements. You can bet that the local media will not be prepared to challenge Ms. Witmer. I mean, when is the media prepared to challenge politicians with real serious information and questions? That's simply not their role, is it? So, yep, do what you can, challenge Ms. Witmer, and let's get some answers from Ms. Witmer and the Conservative Party. Thanks.